Alright, hey guys, how we doing? Back another video from 6. He's finally back! And this one's called Yuta. What have you done? Because my god, JJK's gone. Absolutely insane. I think Jujutsu Kaisen really stands out because it does things a heck of a lot more differently than your normal shonen do. It it really does. And this whole thing with Yuta, spoilers, being in like Gojo's body, and but still being able to use his abilities was a bit weird, but it's just insane. There's no way Sukuna's like surviving this now. This has to be how it ends. And I think the JJK manga has to end soonish as well. Not that I want it to, I just feel like the way it's going, I like how it is approaching things completely differently into your norms. Like, this isn't even the main character doing all this stuff, do you know what I mean? And it's just like, the whole concept of what curses and negative energy and all that stuff being like the thing that wins it all. There's no like power of friendship stuff like Naruto and all that. There's no like, team together. It's like the strongest wins here. If you know what I mean. I like the approach. But anyway, let's see what Six has to say on this.
Yuta has finally become the monster that the story has always wanted him to be.
Yeah, it's mad. It is mad.
Jujutsu Kaisen has always told us a different story than most other shonen of its type. The idea that you need to be a monster to capture ultimate strength is normally an ideology completely rejected by most stories, and that friendship, partnership,
Yeah, like I was saying,
and having others uplift you is the way to go. A story like
Yu-Gi-Oh! The power of friendship will believe in the cards.
Naruto has one of its focal characters, that being Sasuke, go on an arc of evilness, and
then you have the comparison, yeah.
the entire time our main character is focused on bringing Sasuke back to the light and away from that darkness. Jujutsu Kaisen seems to reward characters for taking a step down this morally corrupt path. Even the power system itself is inherently negative in nature. Cursed energy. When multiplying this negative energy against itself, you get positive energy, which can be used to regrow limbs or, in some cases, remove poisons given the skill of the user. Things that, for the most part, can be seen as positive things. Yuta has always been somewhat of an exception to this rule. He himself even goes as far as to say he's blessed, and the primary source of Yuta's power, that of course being Rika, is a curse born out of love.
Yeah, it is.
Under intentional circumstances, what Yuta had done to Rika could be considered straight evil. Using his cursed energy, he captured his girlfriend's soul and transformed her into a monster.
Yeah.
Obviously, Yuta did this unintentionally, but the point is that he's always been sort of an anomaly because of his power coming from love. So what do I mean about Yuta finally becoming the monster? I'm talking about Yuta using Gojo's body as a way to defeat Sukuna, and in a broader sense, what that actually means for the story.
It's crazy.
This is an all or nothing decision that pretty much hits the peak of being unethical. Comparing this to what was mentioned earlier about Yuta capturing the soul of his unalived girlfriend unintentionally, and how if that was to be something done intentionally, you could almost see it as straight evil. And that's exactly what's being done with Gojo's body. He's using Gojo post-mortem the same way he did with Rika, except this time it's done intentionally.
Yeah.
Of course, Gojo isn't Yuta's dead girlfriend, but he is his teacher, and he does love and care about him. The point of it all is that Yuta is doing something highly unethical, and the story doesn't shy away from this in the slightest. Yuta has his gripes with it, along with the rest of the sorcerers at Jujutsu High, but what Gege seems to want us, the readers, to understand is that throwing your humanity to the side and becoming a so-called monster is the way to go when it comes to this world. While Maki is...
I mean, how else are they meant to beat Sukuna?
is exclaiming to
It's like, do everything you can.
Yuta that everyone else cares about him, he takes time to rant about how everyone supposedly cares about Gojo as well, but is willing to let him become the monster just because. And if no one else wants to step up and be the monster when he's gone, then it's going to have to be him. We got glimpses of this conversation through Makari in chapter 245 when he's fighting Arame. Arame starts ranting about how sorcerers of the modern era like to hang on to their humanity when fighting because they're afraid of being alone. Hikari says that one of his juniors recently said something similar and that he respected him for it. Hikari doesn't seem to understand what Urame and Yuta were saying, but he also doesn't seem to care either, and in the end it doesn't really matter. Urame says that Hikari doesn't abide by that human standard, and thus they don't consider him human. That statement alone completed the trio and justified even further the idea that selfishness is the way to gain power. Yuta is willing to throw away his humanity whenever he has to. Hikari doesn't act human to begin with, so he doesn't care. And Maki threw away her cursed energy to become a demon
Yeah,
equal to Toji.
that is very valid. Yes, she did. She did. Now it's just boom. She's a beast.
A lot of people seem to forget Maki didn't just lose all of her cursed energy, it was taken from her by her sister.
Yep.
While at the same time, it's told to us that twins in Jujutsu Society can never be complete on their own. And while Maki was happy to be like everyone else, finally, that wasn't enough. In order for her to have her second awakening, she had to realize that she isn't like everyone else, and that being like everyone else simply isn't enough. I'd like to point out that Maki is also referred to as a monster or demon without cursed energy. But that isn't exactly what I'm talking about here. Even with her being acknowledged by the King of Curses himself and being the one to excite him, Maki is not a true monster in the sense of the word we find it being used on Gojo, and in this context, Yuta. Yuta using Gojo's body as a weapon or tool to take Sukuna down represents a lack of morality. Only someone like Sukuna could get excited over this, as the first time he sees Gojo's body with stitches on his forehead, Sukuna has nothing but praise for the man who was willing to take the step this far down a road, and there is no better indicator for Sukuna's respect than simply calling someone's name out. This is a simple gesture that someone like you or me do every day. Calling someone by their name isn't even something you normally think twice about. But Sukuna only says the name of people that he respects.
Right.
Not only just calling them by their first name, it's a combination of both their first and surname that truly shows you've earned Sukuna's respect. It's evident Gojo had Sukuna's respect a long time ago, but a good example of what I'm talking about comes from the fight they had, where in chapter 230, Sukuna simply mocks Gojo, calling him the strongest while he's on his knees and about to be unalived. But when he cuts Gojo down after evolving his curse technique, he calls him by his full name, Satoru Gojo. A similar thing happens with Higuruma when Sukuna figures out that Higuruma can learn things extremely quickly and operate his curse technique on a similar level to his own. He calls him by both his first and surname. This isn't the only way to tell that Sukuna has respect for a character though, as the narrator makes it clear Kashimo and Yuta both amuse Sukuna with their jujutsu, but Sukuna never bothered to find out Kashimo's name and only ever referred to Yuta as the cursed brat, despite clearly knowing what his name was. So, the simple gesture, the simple fact that Sukuna called Yuta by his first name and last name, proves to us Yuta made a truly monstrous move. But how has the story gone about setting this up? What does this decision mean for Yuta's character and all the progress he had made up to this point? As for how the story has gone about setting this up, I'd like to read a quote from chapter 181, where after defeating Uro and Ryu, Yuta is told by Uro that he's reaching his limit. Sorcerers, cursed spirits, and strong fighters all get driven over the edge by the same thing, overwhelming aggression that blinds them to everything else, like a calamity. I want that quote to be kept in mind as I go through chapter 261 and how the story seems to justify Yuta's decision. I'm going to get kind of recappy here, but I think that's fine considering we're dealing with a pretty dialogue heavy chapter.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine with me.
The chapter sets this decision up as morally wrong from the get-go. It starts with Sukuna praising Yuta for the decision like I just mentioned, and then there's a giant contrast having everyone else disagree with making a decision that's so horrid, unless they're all wiped out and there are no other options. Panda lays out the plan in the most simple format. If Gojo is to lose, Rika can eat Kenjaku, and that would let Yuta take over Gojo's body, giving them a higher shot at victory. I think there is an aspect of this plan that no one really considers, and that's Higuruma's sacrifice. Because of this option of planning they went with, Higuruma was unalived, or I guess I should say because of Yuta, Higuruma was unalived. and Yuta even blames himself for it. Obviously, Yuta has no way of knowing that Higuruma would have been offed if he went and fought Kenjaku, but Yuta fighting Kenjaku was a selfish decision. He even says to himself the reasons he was giving for wanting to take Kenjaku out were just BS, and that the real reason he went was just because he wanted to take Kenjaku out with his own hands. He even mentions how it probably would have been fine if Maki went and attacked Kenjaku instead, and considering he only needs to eat a body part to take someone's curse technique, or in this case a piece of brain since that's the only part of Kenjaku that's in Geto's body,
Yeah.
which Maki could have just brung to him to copy the curse technique. I'm getting a bit off track here, but the point is, Yuta, in his selfishness, got rewarded. His resolve to take Gojo's body and his selfish desire to take Kenjaku out with his own blade granted him this body. It granted him the body of the strongest. While the group struggles to figure out what will happen after Yuta's allotted 5 minutes are up, Mei gives us 3 options, and I think one of them really makes sense if you think about it. I think Yuta will be allowed to stay in Gojo's body, alive, after the 5 minutes are up. And the reasoning is extremely simple. We know from Sukuna's fight with Gojo and Kenjaku's fight with Yuki that you can't activate 2 curse techniques at the same time.
Yeah.
While Sukuna was using 10 shadows, he couldn't use Shrine, and Kenjaku, when not using gravity, fills the gap with curse spirit manipulation, and vice versa. So that must mean Kenjaku's technique is a single activation to swap bodies. If there was to be a difference with Yuta's use of it, it'd be that Yuta uses copy techniques through his copy ability, but he should be fine, like I said. The chapter continues with Kusakabe questioning if this decision is right for Yuta to make as a person, and Yuta explains that they're fighting the strongest sorcerer in history, so if throwing away their humanity means they get a shot at winning, then they should do it.
Yeah, just do anything you possibly can to get the
Then
win.
he explains that Gojo is important, and everyone always pushes the burden of being a monster onto him, but if he's gone, someone else will have to step up, and
yeah.
that's going to be him. I think it's very important Gege included Gojo in this chapter to remind us that he's an actual person. And there's a nice callback to the beginning of the manga here and hidden inventory, where Gojo steps into the room to unalive the higher-ups. Gojo had stated before that doing that wouldn't do anything because some other crappy people would just take their spot, but since Gakuganji can do it now, he can go for it. Yuta tries to plead with Gojo to not bear the weight of becoming a monster alone, and Gojo's thoughts here sort of indicate that he has to in order to get what he wants, just like Geto did. The scene he thinks of is when Geto was telling him that he had chosen this new route, and the only thing he could do now is give it all he's got. Something Gojo's been unwilling to do until now because of Gakuganji. As for the other question I posed, what does this decision mean for Yuta's character and all the progress he's made up to this point? I think morality and genetics sort of dictate how powerful you're going to get in Jujutsu Kaisen. And obviously I'll elaborate on that in a bit, but that's extremely important to take into consideration when evaluating any statement about a character's potential in this manga. Gojo tells us, or at least he fully believes, that Yuta, Hikari, Yuji, and Megumi will all be able to surpass him someday. But I think Gojo is a bit misguided in this way of thinking, especially when you couple it with his overall goal. Considering the meta way to power up your Jujutsu is a complete lack of morality, Gojo's plan to foster a group of strong and intelligent people so that none of them will have to be alone will inherently prevent them from being able to reach the high heights that he himself was able to. Gojo is allowed to skip some of the prerequisites to being strong in JJK because he has the six eyes. And everything basically comes natural to him. The entire idea of Gojo is that he exists as a complete anomaly in JJK. He stands 6'2", he has glowing blue eyes not seen for hundreds of years, he has the most special curse technique in the world. Literally everything about Gojo is abnormal and sets him apart from the rest, and without recapping his entire story, him being pushed to the side by Geto and finally being completely alone set him out on a literal impossible mission to cure his loneliness by raising children who could surpass himself. Gojo should be aware of this, and sometimes I question whether or not he really believed he could foster this group. He's understood being a calamity. He stopped caring about Riko when he was fighting Toji. He stopped caring about everything when he was fighting Toji, and everything just felt right. When he's talking to Jogo in his domain, he says that it's ironic that when given everything, you're unable to do anything, just dying slowly. And this is kind of Gojo's life. Despite his being handed everything power-wise, despite his wealth, when it comes down to it, Gojo fails a lot. He failed to stop Toji from unaliving Riko.
True.
He failed to stop Geto. He failed to dispose of Geto's body properly. He failed in Shibuya. So in his goal to create this group of sorcerers, would he really have succeeded? I don't really think that it's likely. Let's put some context on those failures. Why did he lose to Toji? He wasn't selfish enough. He prioritized protecting Riko, and he kept his curse
Trying to be
technique
nice
up for
gets you
hours,
nowhere.
so much so that his senses were dulled
That's
to a point even lower than he was when he was a kid.
Which I don't like.
Why did he fail?
But sometimes I do get that in life. It's like I try and be nice all the time, but then I see other people just being pricks, just getting everything they want, and it's like, oh.
To stop Geto. He had Geto in his sights and wouldn't take the shot, even if there are people in the way. Imagine if this was some guy that Sukuna thought he should eliminate. It'd be done without hesitation, like a calamity. And he failed in Shibuya for the same reason. Gojo had the power to take down everyone in the train station.
Nice
if he
guys
would have just
finish
kept
last.
his domain open instead of a 0.2-second domain, none of the rest of the story would have even happened. And tying this into even when he's talking to Kenjaku in Shibuya about how even getting rid of him doesn't matter because someone else already beat that body up, in reference to Geto's body, speaking of Yuta. And Kenjaku says he just doesn't see the hype around Yuta and that he can't be the next Gojo. Gojo's lack of a response to that, when I think a response would be completely in character for him, implies a level of doubt to me. Like, yeah, maybe Yuta can't be the next Gojo. Maybe Gojo is chasing a pipe dream, thinking others can catch up to him. And a lot of people have pointed this out in this new chapter as sort of a gotcha moment on Kenjaku. Like, haha, he is the next Gojo, but that's not really what's happening. Yuta isn't the next Gojo. He's using Gojo's corpse. Yuta is Gojo, as far as anyone should be concerned. But he's got to be Gojo with that lack of morality, that overwhelming sense of aggression, so that he can take Sukuna down. And that's what this step forward means for Yuta's character. The final test for Yuta will come if he's still trying to save Megumi. If Yuta can truly let go of Megumi and use Gojo's body and domain to its full extent to simply win, he will surpass Gojo. But
I don't see it happening. I keep forgetting that. I keep forgetting that's Megumi's body.
don't want to try and predict the story here. I'd rather just wait and see how it all unfolds.
Fantastic. Yo, really cool. Really cool look at all that. It is an interesting one. JJK just stands out because it does everything differently, man. It's cool, but like, yeah. It is one of those. Within the JJK world, if you try to be nice, you try to be good, trying to do things the right way, it just doesn't seem to bloody work out. As soon as you just be a selfish little prick and go down that route and go for it, grab what you need, got it. Interesting take. I am very intrigued to see where JJK goes, because didn't see this happening. I just never know what's going to happen next. But it's good to see Six back, and I hope he stays a little bit consistent. He did all those random live stream discussions with the TikTok anime stuff, which I didn't check out too much. Might do in my own private time. But yeah, members is a thing. If you want to join, you get to see my videos early. And thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of every video, links in the description to the Patreon page. $1 a month is all I ask to help support channel. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you guys for that. And thank you all for watching. What do you guys think of that? You guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you already. Leave comments below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos. And I'll see you guys next time.